Hi everyone, thank you for being here right before lunch. I'd be quick, I promise. Let me time this one, so I won't exceed my time. And as a first thing, I'd like you to keep in mind this image. Sorry, it's AI generated. I felt for AI as well. I try not to, but I'm not able to draw, so that's this image. And this image is like imagine working on a big project with talented developers from all over the world, and each one contributing to your code base. Something super exciting. It can be like working on an open source project, or if you, like me, are working for a remote company, then it's the same thing. So big project, developer from all over the world. And it's great, but what if every developer has different coding styles, own preferences, and so on? And again, different time zones make real-time communication really difficult, so you can't just call them whenever you like. And if there's no standardized review process, then this can become chaos. That's the reason why code quality and consistency matter, because, of course, the first reason is a clean code is easier to extend and debug and helps team members understand each other because they are talking basically the same language, coding language. And that can lead to faster issue resolution. It's easier to add new team members, and you can also add new feature faster. And hopefully, this leads to fewer bugs and a reduced technical debt, hopefully. So now I challenge you to tell me why does this code return 8 instead of 12? Well, back in the days, I'm really old in the technology world. I feel old. The space was a problem because we were programming on floppy disk, the icon of saving things. And, well, space was a problem, so a real rockstar developer was able to write super short code doing great things. And that was a rockstar. Now, space is not a problem anymore, so you can write this function this way. Sorry, it's Python. I noticed there are a lot of .NET developers, but I hope you can understand a little bit. So the first one is a function that doubles a number, and then we have a list of numbers, and we iterate through those numbers, extracting just even numbers. And if you are reading the code, the problem is here. So we are checking if the number is odd instead of even. So this might be the problem. This is the problem. But of course, you may notice that just giving proper names to functions and creating a readable code is better, and it's faster to understand what it's doing. So the reason is that in distributed teams, asynchronous work makes communication more challenging. So you can't ask the developer who wrote the first piece of code, this one, oh, what were you thinking here? What is this code doing? And you can just read the code and that's it. Because inconsistent code can lead to misunderstanding or, like this example, longer debugging times. Other than this, onboarding new team members can be difficult because you have to explain everything into the details of what the code is doing. So code quality becomes the language developer uses to communicate, and you should instruct all developers, new one and old one especially, to follow the same coding standards and guidelines. But, well, how? Because each developer has its own coding standard, and again, time zones differences affect real-time communication, and there is fragmentation of tools, environments, and developer preferences. Not working. Okay, using this one. So the first, one of the first developer war was this one. They were debating between using tabs or using spaces. And again, you may lose a lot of time based just on developer preferences. Like this, so what if a developer has an auto correction setting in its own code editor that changes spaces to tabs or vice versa? Then when they open up a request, everything seems to be changed, even if they just change this to fix our previous problem. Well, that's chaos. Same for camel case or snake case or whatever case you prefer. You can adapt your code because you like that way, but, well, again, it makes your pull request unreadable or difficult to read. And as I said, you can use auto-formatting tools. They can help with consistency, but if they are they have different settings, this can lead to other issues. For example, in Python, you may have this error because there are tabs and spaces mixed up in the code, and everything is a mess. So you should set a clear set of coding standards and guidelines that everyone follows, because this can help ensure consistency among team members. How can you do this? Well, you can define and enforce a clear style guide. Then you should centralize your documentation of best practices in your projects. And you need to remember to update these guidelines regularly with the whole team feedback. First one, you can pick and stick to a style guide. For example, in Python, they have PEP8 or Airbnb style guide for JavaScript. You may like it or not. There are other style guides you may follow. You can decide the one to follow with the team and stick to that. And then you can use linters and formatters to automate compliance. So you can use a pre-commit or pre-push hook in your GitHub project, Git project, to check for common errors or differences before committing or pushing your code to GitHub. For example, in Python, they have black sort and flake8 or slint and prettier for JavaScript. And there are a lot of other linters and formatters for all other languages. Then you should create a centralized knowledge base, for example, using GitHub Pages, Confluence, Notion, wherever you like, in order to store your coding guidelines for the project, your best practice for the team, for the company, and also, if you like, team expectation, shared for everyone there to read. You should also, if you are using GitHub, document how to make changes to set up the project and perform requests for that specific project in, for example, in the contributing markdown file, because that allows newcomers to the project to be up to speed faster just reading documentation. Then remember to keep your documentation and standards up to date, reviewing them periodically. How can you automate these code quality checks? Well, as Vichy said in her talks, you can use and implement CI/CD pipelines to automate test, linting, and whatever. Again, you can also implement checks in pull request. And then you should use automate testing tools. Everyone hates that, but it makes your code safer, trust me. And if you like, you can leverage bots for code review automation. We are using some sort of GitHub Copilot auto reviewer that, like Misha said, creates an automatic description of the pull request and perform basic checks of your code. In GitHub Actions, you can use that. So wherever you push on your main branch, don't do that. Please use pull request. Or you open up a request on the main branch that everything runs and checks your code automatically. Then, again, think about unit testing, integration testing, and end-to-end tests, and maybe make them mandatory before deploying code to production. So you can use GitHub branch protection rules in order to require status check to pass before merging, otherwise merging is blocked. And also lock branch, so people are not accidentally pushing to the main branch. Again, you can use bots to flag issues before human review to speed up things. I know there's Review Dog. We tried that, but now there is GitHub Auto Reviewer Copilot, or AI tools, again, if you feel confident about using them. So automating code reviews can help catch basic issues before human intervention. Then you can collaborate in code reviews. So the programmer who opened the code review and the person who is reviewing the code should establish a clear code review process and checklist of things to do, things to check. And if you are able to, because in a remote world this is difficult, you can also leverage pair programming for real-time collaboration and maybe explanation about the new things you did in the pull request. Then make these code reviews part of the development process in order to enforce security, performance, and maintainability. You should focus on that as well. And if you can, assign a reviewer who has context but was not involved in writing the original code. So this provides fresh eyes to the issue, and so you are able to better explain your pull request to a person that was not involved, because you are forced to explain better your pull request text, basically. And Wednesday, I heard a talk from Tess Ferrandez Norlander. I hope to spell it correctly. You should write pull requests like you have to review them. You like to review them because they will be, of course, better. Last but not least, example of tools. For example, don't use hundreds of linters and formatters. Just use the ones you like and you use and you feel confident about. For example, there's editor config. It integrates with almost every code editor you may use. And you can use a generic configuration for the charset, end-of-line style, final new line at the end of the file, or trailing white space. And also you can use a specific style for different files, sorry. And for example, indent size and indent styles, and this will end your developer war, as long as you share this file within the project with other developers, so they can stick to that for that specific project. Then, sorry, I don't have an example for .NET, but there should be something like some code formatter for .NET as well. But for Python, you can use Black and use it on your source files, and that will check and maybe out-format your code. iSort, in order to sort imports before generic imports than your local imports. Or for JavaScript, you can use prettier to format files, check and or format files, slint, again for JavaScript. You can use Go format in Go or GoVet for potential issues. For Rust, you can use cargo format or cargo clippy to achieve the same things. And last word about environments. Having different people all pushing to your branches, maybe you want to have different environments. So for example, you can use, well, for feature branches, you can use your localhost to check if everything is okay. Then when you push your pull request, you can push to a develop branch and everything will be deployed onto a staging area where they can test things. Or even use testing, a testing environment, specific testing environment, when you want to merge to specific branches. Demo, when you want to merge, for example, to the main branch without deploying to customers. So you have a demo-like style with preview about features without giving them to clients. And then, again, production. So, concluding, set clear coding standards, use CI/CD pipelines wherever you like, and testing to catch issues early in your coding process, and leverage code reviews and collaborative tools to share knowledge and maintain consistency. Foster communication and continuous improvement within your distributed teams. And again, another thing, continuous learning about best practices and improvements are essential for long-term success. So communicate clearly, automate what you can, don't feed the spaghetti monster with ugly code, and remember, it always works on your machine until it doesn't. Thank you very much.